Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Fearless Brand Leaders. Most people may not recognize the name Fremantle, but they'll definitely know their brand names: American Idol, X Factor, America's Got Talent, and The Price is Right. I'm here with David Luner, the President of Brand Partnerships from Fremantle, who's produced all these hits. David, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
I'm going to get right to it. With so many successful shows and brands on your roster today, you seem to have tapped into some kind of secret formula. What is that?
If we knew exactly what it was, we'd produce nothing but hits.
Okay, there you go.
I think it's a little bit of secret sauce, a little bit of luck, and I think at the root of everything that we do, I think are two components. One is storytelling. We have the best storytellers in the business, and at the root of everything, you sort of get connected to our characters. And we also empower our viewers. So very few shows allow people to either win, be part of the fabric, or make the decisions.
You need to talk about that. You talked about it in your awesome session today. The audience participation factor. How have you brought that experience to life outside of the television? You showed a few things today, but maybe tell the viewers some of those things you do.
Yeah, I think we're really lucky. I handle all the ancillary businesses. So obviously within the fabric of the TV show, there's voting and there's a direct influence and then there's social dialogue. But we've been really lucky to extend our brands into much deeper consumer relationships. You know, we talk about Idol and Got Talent and the franchises, but you look at something like Price is Right that's been on air for over 40 years. Huge brand loyalty, broad audience, and we have a number of things that we do with this. So the show is about winning money and experience. We have a long-standing slot machine business. We have a lottery ticket business. We actually produce a live show completely independent of the TV show. Very successful tour in Canada. Canadians love Price is Right. It's a new fact for us, so we like that a lot.
Perfect.
But again, it's great about giving people new experiences and new ways to touch the brand.
Speaking of Canada, it's a good segue into, we're here in Banff, Canada. Have you been following Canadian Idol, and have you been involved? What's kind of Fremantle's?
Yeah, it's very interesting. Almost all of our shows around the world, we produce them. We have our 22 production territories. Canada's a little bit of a unique beast. You guys have so many incentives to produce in Canada. We actually license the rights to a production company here, so we're a little bit hands-off. All the interactivity and the production rights sit with the Canadian production company, so a little bit different for us.
How do you get these? Is it just because the brands became so big? What about in the early days of the hosts you had? How did you attract them? How did you go about doing that?
Yeah, I think you always look for a host that's sort of, I think we spent a lot of time today, the conference was great, talking about lifestyle and authenticity. So you want hosts that very much feel authentic to whatever brand it is. So again, each show is different. Each show needs a different type of host. And again, most of the time we get it right, but not always. It's interesting. American Idol is a format where around the world and in the 40 local versions that we've done, it always has two hosts. That's what the flying producers go around and teach us. And when we launched in the US, we had two hosts. We had Ryan and we had Dunkelman. And it didn't work in the U.S. The U.S. didn't want so much dialogue. They wanted to get to the singing. So we ended up with a one-host format. Ryan's been incredible.
Yeah.
And again, he might not necessarily have been our first choice, but he was so passionate about doing it, it ended up being the right choice.
Yeah, The Price is Right, it's been around for a long time too. How have you revived that brand? Because it definitely is a cult-like brand and a cult following. What has been some of the things you've done to do?
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I think we had talked about this in the session about authenticity and consistency and consistency. And Price is Right is one of those brands that's just stayed consistent. We've never really had to revive it. We've just had to refresh it. So you have new set designs. We constantly introduce new games. We have over 75 games in the rotation, and then you just stay loyal to it. You know, make it feel fresh, make it feel new, but make it feel authentic. We've only made one host change in the history of the show, so it's been pretty consistent.
Totally. Brand partnerships, it's a key part to your role, and how do you choose? Let's talk about Idol for a minute. Do you have brands knocking on your door? How's that came to life? Because it's pretty powerful. That's branded content for them, and how do you choose your partners that way?
Yeah, I think, as much as we choose our partners, they choose us. I think it's like a marriage. It has to be the right kind of fit. So number one, it has to be a brand that has the same values. You look at a Coke and a Ford, these great American brands, this great American icon, they were always a natural fit. Coke made a lot of sense. They wanted to own something about behind the scenes, and they've always done stuff behind the scenes with Coke Rewards, so we've always sort of evolved that relationship. You think about Ford, although it's got great American iconography, what does a car have to do with the singing competition? And that's difficult. And so the team worked really hard, and where we said was, What if they owned something that was their first music video? So the Ford became the music video vignette. It always features a Ford, but it's more about them creating their first music videos. The contestants get really excited. So got to have the right brand fit. You got to find the right beat. You have to have the right real estate. You know, we've ebbed and flows. I think we've had too many sponsors at sometimes. You start to ruin the storytelling. You just want to find that right balance.
Cult brands often are a creation of the people who work on them behind the scenes. How do you, we see the Paul Abduls or the big famous people, but you hire a lot of other people. How do you choose those people that have that passion? What are you looking for in a Fremantle employee?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think you have two separate cultures. You have Fremantle, we have the corporate entity, which is what I work for, and we sort of are the business of the business. And then you run the productions as independent productions. So you have American Idol production and Price is Right production and Family Feud production. And those units become their own culture and their own families. And it's amazing. I think it's very important that they find people that live and breathe the mentality, that they're authentic to it, that they understand what they're producing. And it's amazing. You look at American Idol, 13 years, and the majority of the production staff is the same team that was there in season 2 when I started.
That's crazy.
It's just an incredible team. The Price is Right team, pretty much all of them have been there for decades. And it's such a well-oiled machine. It runs like a live show, even though it's taped to air. So again, I just think it's finding quality people. And on the game shows, they tend to be game show nuts and fanatics, and they love it. They could think of nothing better. And for American Idols, people that love producing live content and stories and background information. So I think you just find the right people.
Last question. So you've been at the gathering the last few days. What have you seen and heard from these amazing brands that have, someone like Harley been around for 110 years, and the NHL and GoPro? What have you taken from this, and what have you gleaned from insights?
Yeah, I think it's always interesting because especially when you get in your own world and you have success, you tend to think you have the formula. And it's nice to come and have a couple things. One is, I think, have what you're doing challenged and see people that have incredible new ideas and ways of approaching it. And also relearning that there's an underlying theme. And I think that sort of came out through everything. So from your keynote speech to everything, there are key elements that great brands and marketers use. And I think you can apply those key elements to very different brands. I mean, we're not applying necessarily to millennials, and we have a different demo, but this concept of, number one, authentic. Be what you are selling, and also sell a lifestyle, not a product. I mean, that just kept resonating over and over and over. And if you can explain, we always talk about the concept of building lifestyle brands, just another way of articulating it. And we have some very successful shows that never extended anything because they're not a lifestyle. They're a great piece of TV. You watch it. Idol always worked because it was the ultimate aspiration brand, the ultimate rags to riches, and the ultimate music. And that's a lifestyle, whereas other shows aren't. So,
well, you've been speaking of genuine and authentic, I've gotten to know you for the last 2 months here, and I really appreciate you coming to be part of the inaugural event. And Gail has also been wonderful. So thank you very much for joining us.
I've enjoyed it.
Join us next week on Fearless Brand Leaders. Until then, stay fearless.